Alright guys, welcome back to today's video. We're on another day where the weather out here can't quite decide what it wants to do. Oh boy. Anyway, what I figured I could start doing today is getting this whole space more organized. It's getting a little wild and it's not conducive to getting things done in an efficient manner. While I do that, I'm going to be reorganizing parts and kind of prioritizing where things need to go and putting a few things on the RX-7, just bits and pieces there as we're trying to get towards the final part of assembly. So I'll time-lapse that, and then hopefully we get some inspiration for what to do, because again, we're waiting for parts. We found out that our intercooler kit is not really working out with the piping supplied, so that should be coming today. Waiting for some seam sealer to plug a hole on the inside before we spray the interior and get that going back in, so figure out what we can do to be productive today. Well, I think that's a good start. I could say it went pretty well. I got much more space. Able to mount some new tools we got here, helpful for what we're working on. Got the tools all organized. Tool chest closes. This is nice and organized with the paint and other cans. Get everything labeled that I boxed up so I know what's where. And yeah, so what I think I'm going to work on are these pulleys. Obviously they've been sitting out for a while. I need to make a better mark for the timing on here and then clean them up and maybe get those mounted. So yeah, that's what I'll work on for a little bit. So this is the part on the main engine crankshaft pulley that the timing is recorded, and there's some painted on lines here. I'm just going to work on this set, but in order to make sure, because these need to be repainted, so in order to make sure that I don't lose that mark, because these holes on here are slightly offset, it only bolts on there one way, so I don't think this is an arbitrary mark. So I'm going to score it in with the Dremel, and then that way after I paint it I can still see it and I can mark it again with paint. So while those are set up and drying, I need to get the power steering cooling loop mounted back in the front of the car here. So I'm not quite ready to rehook up the power steering system because we damaged one of the lines while putting the engine in. However, with putting this intercooler on and getting everything buttoned up, it's going to be very difficult to get behind there to mount the loop. I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so this is the power steering pump that we're using. It's off of an MR2, it's electric. So I do have a previous video where I built this system, rigged it up, and I'll leave a link to that up above. But anyway, this front part goes along the front bumper, or front core support rather, and it actually is a loop that allows the steering fluid to be cooled by the air passing across the radiator and the intercooler as such. And it goes right behind this big bad boy. Now luckily, we haven't put this in just yet. It's just sitting there, so I just have to undo this top mount right here and get in there. So I'll go ahead and bolt that up right now.
and they would be like favorites. Yeah. She's a woman. So God, she beat the competition by an astounding 600 pounds. That's really crazy. Yeah, beat the second runner up by 4.
So thanks to organizing this top area, I was able to just take off that intercooler, set it nicely where it's out of the way, not going to be damaged. So that's cool. But now we need to get up under here, right above the oil cooler is where we're going to mount this bad boy. So I'll go ahead and take care of that. It's just 2 little bolts here that keep it in place, and then we can continue with the intercooler installation. Alright, so this has become a perfect example of why you stop and do this before you put everything back together. So not only did I have to take the intercooler off, I had to take the radiator off and swing forward the oil cooler, because part of this power steering loop, this is it right here, comes down and actually goes slightly behind the oil cooler to mount. So we're going to button that up and then get everything back together. So that's back on there. Let's take a look at these pulleys and see how good they look. They should be dry to the touch by now. Alright, here are our pulleys from earlier. Looking much better, cleaned up. This paint I used on it is a rust stopping, so it's like a rust reformer and just a flat black in one. And it's nice and matte and flat, so it's not going to give any slip inside here. It's just going to stop all that rust that was happening, and they look great. So here's that timing mark I made. So we're going to go ahead and get that marked with some white paint and then see if we can test fit these on there. Alright, so let me give you guys a quick update. I broke off 2 bolts trying to put this pulley on. Simple job, should have been simple, but I messed it up. I was using this. It's just a little impact gun. It usually doesn't even break bolts loose, so I didn't think it would do anything, but it did, and I shouldn't have been using it anyway, so it's my fault. So now I get to mess around with these guys, easy outs, and hopefully they work. So I also have a tap to retap the hole on the 2 bolts, so I guess we'll give it a shot and keep our fingers crossed. Success on getting one out. That just came out by drilling it, actually. But the other top one, easy outs, didn't work. Drilling it out didn't work. So I've just kind of recreated the hole, and now I'm just going to have to tap it with the correct thread and hope that that works. I'm not a machinist, so this is a bit of a stretch for me. Okay, so quite an adventure just to get these pulleys on. The last pulley is for the alternator. It's just going to be the main pulley, water pump, alternator, and I do have a 2-belt alternator pulley that needs to go on, but that was from the FC alternator. This is actually an FD alternator, and this is actually a performance aftermarket version which produces 200 amps. We need that because we have electric fan down here and the electric power steering. So one of the next episodes is going to be how to wire this up and how to modify the pulley so that you can get an FD alternator on your FC if you so desire. Speaking of power steering, these are the lines from that cooler we installed earlier, and they really are in the way because we're gonna have to run intercooler piping off of here down here. So even though that was a lot of effort to get that installed, I think I'm going to take it off and use something else to figure out how to cool the power steering. So yeah, I'm gonna go backwards on that. Well guys, I know it doesn't seem like we maybe accomplished that much today. In fact, there were a lot of setbacks with breaking those bolts, so I do apologize. But every little bit counts at this point, and it is coming together. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember, like, comment, and subscribe. The channel's been doing really well recently, so I appreciate everybody hitting that subscribe button. So anyway, hope you guys have a great evening, day, whatever, and we'll see you in the next one.